And good morning, fantasy football fans. It's getting defensive time. We've got rejoining us our special guest host, Johnny the Greek from the IDP guys. Thanks for coming on, John. Glad to see you back.
Hey, good to be here, man. It's man, last time we did this was probably like fantasy playoffs last year, and
Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a hell of a season, huh? We talked about this on the phone the other day. For me, that was the hardest season I've had in a long time. Just
It was
craziness.
frustrating.
It was frustrating, but I
Yeah.
think we're in for a better one this year. I'm happy to be back in the rotation. It's good to be here, and good morning.
Sweet. Yeah, I just want to mention real quick, John. John's got an open invitation as a guest host because I can't get him away from the IDP guys just to join. But either way, he's got an open invitation, but you're going to be a little bit more hit and miss this year. You've got a promotion at work or something, and you're going to be on the road a little bit and such, but. Anytime you can get on, man, we really appreciate it. You bring a lot to the table. We know that. And then we got James, which you guys all know, one of the normal getting defensive crew members. James, how you doing this morning?
Doing well. Ready to get into it.
Sweet. And we're going to do just that. I just want to mention real quick before we do, we are now on YouTube. So if you would go track that down, it's Gridiron Ratings Fantasy Football, and throw a subscribe. We really appreciate it. And of course, if you'd follow all of us and Getting Defensive, along with Gridiron Ratings, give us a follow on Twitter. So we're going to start out. What do you got? Which division you want to start out with? We're doing the AFC North, and we're going to break down everything that we possibly can for each unit. Any suggestions?
You lead the way, Gary.
Yeah, fire away.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the Lions depth chart right now.
Oh, NFC North. You scared the crap out of me. I prepared everything for NFC North. That's what I say.
Right?
What I said AFC, but I knew you meant NFC. I just let it slide.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Feel free to correct me though, because sometimes I need it. All right. So we're going to go with the NFC North. I'm looking at the Lions here. We have it's kind of a crap show up there amongst some things. We're sitting here probably looking at Will Harris and Travis Walker potentially being the starting safeties. Should be at least Tracy Walker. We hope so, considering that he broke out a year or so ago, and then Patricia, for some reason, in his last ditch effort to make the Lions the NFC Patriots, he was not seeing the field. Walker wasn't. So, but I mean, here's my overall take about this whole unit. Production by default means something, and I mean, other than Jamie Collins, I'm losing faith in Trey Flowers a little bit. There are some intriguing parts on here, but this defense needs a rework. So when it comes to IDP, there's a bunch of swings that you can take at some of these guys that might work out, have a chance to step up. But Jamie Collins and Tracy Walker are probably the only ones I'm going to actually target. And because of the situation, Tracy Walker's fell down the board a little bit. So what do you guys think, man? Break these guys down a little bit more if you like.
Yeah, James, you want to lead off?
Oh, yeah, I'll go for it. I'm agreeing more or less with what Gary's saying. There's a lot of name recognition on this defense, but it's also a lot of older guys and a lot of name recognition that doesn't necessarily come with fantasy production in 2021. Jamie Collins is nice, but he's old, and if you're looking at it from a dynasty perspective, you're going to get maybe 1-2 years out of him as a solid producer. And you're also coming in with an entirely new front office, an entirely new coaching staff, and they're going to want to flip the script. They're going to want to bring in their guys. They're going to want to do what new coaches do. And while Collins might perform short-term, long-term, not much of a play. Same thing up front. They brought in Michael Brockers, which will be a nice little play, but he's also not on the young side of things. Trey Flowers is going to be the inconsistent Trey Flowers we all know. Romeo Aquara might be someone who's good and nice, but he's also probably going to be a mid-level DL2. If you're being honest, it's not like they're going to be pass rushing very often. He's going to be just racking up some tackles here and there and not getting those big plays. And then on the back end, you got Tracy Walker and Will Harris, some nice tackle guys who are supposed to be elite safeties and never really got there. And it's just a bunch of names that we all know and recognize, but no one that we really should be targeting in drafts. There are more guys who, if they show up in our lap, we'll take them. But again, like Gary said, there's going to be production by simply being on the field. And someone on this defense is going to get it. Jamie Collins is the most likely one, but I'm not investing in anyone highly here. They're just going to be spread out and just mediocre everywhere. Someone will probably step up. Someone's going to become a very nice solid play, but I'm not betting any of my fantasy draft capital on figuring out who that is. So it's just a lot of late round lottery tickets and seeing if I can hit somebody, if that's the direction I want to go.
Yep. Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better, fellas. There are 3 defenses I hate with a passion, and I will not be taking anyone from, and that's the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Lions, because they're all the same defense. You never know who's doing what each week. Their snaps could get pulled out from under them at any time for any reason, because they all think they're the Patriots, and they're not the Patriots. That may change this year.
Without
with
Patricia, you don't think that could change?
No, yeah, I'm getting that.
Curious.
So that will change this year with Patricia, but the point is we don't really know, right? Like we can bet. We could bet Tracy Walker, probably a good bet. Jamie Collins, probably a good bet. Romeo Aquara, decent bet. Trey Flowers, sure. Jeff Okuda, yes. Cornerback only leagues, I would draft him. Beyond that, though, I'm probably all set. Like I'm not trying to waste draft capital on this defense when I don't know what's set in stone. Like you guys said, it's going to be an entirely new, front office, a whole new approach. Like we won't know until we know. This is one of those things where our lads will give us the depth chart in August, and it'll be completely wrong, and no one will know till week like 2 or 3 or 4. And I'm not trying to play that game with this defense. I could give a crap about this defense. I'll play that game with another defense that has, more opportunity for production. Not this one, though. I'm all set. But yeah, no, I agree with you guys. Jeff Okuda would be the one that I would look at first here for corner only leagues. And I do like Michael Brackers. He is getting old, but redraft and, a cheaper dynasty guy for the last year or 2 here. Him as a defensive tackle is interesting because you guys remember him as a D end on the Rams. Like he's had value before. If he has that same production at like defensive tackle, that's decent. That's not bad at all. Those are the guys I'd be into.
Yeah. It's just a real crapshoot up there, and if we're lucky as IDP owners, there is a change. There is a swing of momentum of what that defensive scheme will be. I'm not even sure. The last that I've seen that they have decided what defensive scheme. I think they're evaluating their people right now to see who's going to fit in, what will work best. So bringing some normalcy of even prior to Patricia, there wasn't a huge amount to love about this defense with the prior organization or not the organization, but the prior coaching staff and stuff. So, there's been can you guys name in the last 10 years a must own off of there?
A must own?
Yeah.
No. So they were rolling out Reggie Ragland last year. That's how bad things got. And
prior to that, you had Kyle, me and you, John. We used to have conversations about Kyle Van Noy all the time.
Oh God,
yeah. It's just a production by default type dude, and not knocking on him. He's a solid veteran, but as far as IDP and his actual performance grading in film is just terrible. But anyways, I do want to ask. I want to bring up one thing. You got. I'm going to hack the name up. The defensive end, Okawara.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, and his brother's on there too. That's kind of cool. I kind of feel like it'll probably be Flowers and the main Okoro, and then the younger brother there probably might see some type of rotation. I'm not expecting much out of those edge rushers, to tell you the truth. We'll probably see them. They did flash. So what I mean by not seeing a lot out of them, no, neither one of them are probably going to be in the top 10. I do expect to see some productive games, but I'm not betting on that. Between the linebackers, I think is another big question. With Jamie Collins and Lozana, is that his name? Alex, the former Saint. I'm thinking those might be the two main starters in the end. I think that when you look at Maybean and Tavia and Hamilton, it's probably it wouldn't shock me if the other starting inside linebacker or two aren't even on the roster right now, whether it's addressed in the draft or if they sign somebody, but they got a lot of needs. And if I remember right, offensive line might be a priority for them, so I don't know. I'm not too excited about anything.
Yeah, they're back in their cycle of blowing everything up and starting over again.
Yep, exactly. All right, so how about we just move on to the Bears?
And better defense. Yeah,
definitely.
Yep. James, aren't you a Khalil Mack fan?
I am. I'm not a gigantic Khalil Mack fan anymore. He's good. He can be seen as maybe a low end DL or linebacker 1 if you're playing in sleeper. Probably a high end 2 at this point in his career. Especially when you're looking at it from a dynasty perspective. He's good. He's going to be solid. He's going to get you production, but he might not be as consistent as he once was, and I guess that's okay. He can be a high variance guy who's going to put up some big weeks sometimes and then give you a few low end weeks the other. But if you want a high variance guy, he's up there in terms of people you want to own. I love Roquan Smith. Assuming all three of us are going to say he's at the very top of our linebacker board. He's in my top tier. He's my number 2, but he's easily a number 1. You can't really miss him. Danny Trevathan's going to be back there doing his thing as well, and being just very solid and a good bye week play.
I'm wondering if he might lose a little playing time to Jones re-signing.
It's possible.
Danny's slowing down a little bit.
He's getting old. Yeah.
He is, but he's also one of those guys who I feel like always finds a way to get on that field and produce. He's going to be one of those guys who's going to be 34 and just doing it. And he's not someone I bet against. And then you look at their secondary, and their secondary is not very appealing. It's not very bad either, but like Eddie Jackson, Jalen Johnson.
Eddie Jackson. Just real quick, James, I just want to see John's reaction about Eddie Jackson.
That's skid marks. That's skid marks, Jackson.
He'll explain here in a minute. I just wanted to see what he did. Go ahead, James. I'm sorry for the interruption, man.
That's good, but I guess I'm saying you probably don't want to invest in him, and I'm going to guess Johnny's going to say the same thing. He's fine as maybe a good plug-and-play against a great matchup, but not someone you want to have week to week or someone that you think should actually be in your lineup every week. And the offensive line, the defensive line, otherwise, besides Khalil Mack, there's some upside, but it's not the Bears defense we've known previously where there's a ton of production everywhere. It's Roquan, it's Khalil. You've got some other bye week type of guys. Maybe Akeem Hicks gives you something. Mario Edwards Jr. shows up, but it's kind of like a better version of Detroit, honestly, where you just have the high end people, and Roquan Smith's obviously amazing, but the rest of the supporting cast isn't very usable, isn't super young, isn't something that dynasty wise you want to just go out and grab. They're just kind of guys, and that happens in the league. There's lots of guys who are guys, and they can be guys and put up numbers sometimes, occasionally, but not consistently, and hopefully not on your roster.
Yeah. Still better than the Lions, but still exactly what James said. I have to agree. And exactly what you've stated is why Smith should be a no-brainer at top 5 at inside linebacker, So what you got on it, John?
Yeah. No, I like this defense better, definitely. Yeah, so all right, we'll start with Roquan. Yeah, he's a top 5 guy, definitely. Danny, I think probably will sneak his way back onto the field at least for some snaps this year. He was in trouble last year, like week 1 and 2. Remember, like I think it was Deion Bush was going to
Mhm.
replace him,
Mhm.
and then Trevathan won as usual, but he is getting
Yep.
older, so we'll see
Yep.
what happens.
Well,
On the edge stuff, yeah, Khalil Mack is great if you can get him as an edge, as a defensive end, or as a sleeper like combo guy where you can plug him into your DL. As a regular linebacker, I'm good. I'm all set. I will wait, grab someone off waivers that does tackles instead of sacks, and I'll get points
mhm.
every week while you get points some weeks.
Right. Right.
That's a
Yep.
personal preference thing, but Gary knows me. That's
Yep.
the way
Yep.
I've always been. Consistency is king, and sacks are not consistent, so I'm all set with that.
Yep.
Eddie Jackson, yeah, I call him skid marks because he's as consistent as me having clean underwear after Taco Bell.
I knew it was coming. I love it.
I don't know.
Oh, shit.
He is usable though in certain situations, right? Like big play leagues.
Matchups.
Yeah,
You got to be the
matchups.
matchup.
Big play. He does have those huge games, right? Like
Right.
he'll
Right.
return a pick to the house, or he'll have like a pick or like 3 pass deflections in one. He has those games. And if you're in those crazy deep leagues, like we've been in those leagues where you have like 4 safeties, right? Like we've all done that crap. Like that'd be fine. Is a safety 3 or 4? I'd do that.
Mhm.
It'd be a high variance guy, like James was saying, but it'd be good to have one of those and 3 solid guys. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like 3 consistent guys, 1 huge guy like him or like Kevin Biard or someone or Minka.
Right.
Someone that could just blow up every week, and if they don't, you'll live. But if they do,
Mhm.
you might win your week, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm with you on that. Defensive line, Akeem Hicks, yeah, I'm into. If he's a defensive tackle, very much I'm into. If it's just DL, much less so, but still possibly. Mario Edwards, no. Bilal Nichols, no. At corner, yeah, losing what's his face there? Fuller. That was huge.
Mhm.
That's not
Mhm.
great for them. But Jalen Johnson actually came on quite a bit as a streamable IDP corner last year, and I think he's going to come on quite a bit more this year. So that's someone to keep an eye on much later, as someone you could have like in your streaming group, right? If the matchup is correct, like if they get Green Bay, if they
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
the Saints or someone that passes
Right.
often. Like that's
Right.
that's a solid streaming matchup. But yeah, those are the guys I'm into on the Bears. No Robert Quinn, no Deion Bush.
No.
I'm good with either. Yeah, Gary, what do you got?
Yeah, hit it on the head. The one thing about Eddie Jackson. Now, I agree with John and his aspect of his IDB production and what he's done. What I'm shocked about with him is that with Hicks being hurt over the last couple of years, and I mean he's getting older. With Mac not being the Mac that we knew a few years ago, the lack of pass rush that they have at times up there, that usually translate into more production for the secondary because, without a pass rush, the opposing quarterback is working that secondary. So, yeah, Eddie Jackson is just one of those dudes. It can change at any point where you're older on the defensive line, but, it's just he's no more than a bye week. Type matchup players. Sometimes he's really got good ones, like you mentioned, depending on on who they're playing. The one intriguing position on there might be the strong safety. They've got Deion Bush penciled in right now. I don't think that the strong safety is another option for the draft. I don't think that the starting safety necessarily is on that roster right now. Whether it's draft or if they sign somebody, I think there's a few decent safeties out there in free agency, still probably better than what they have. The one intriguing one might be Houston Carson, but he's been intriguing for a couple of years, had a couple of shots. He shows well, but overall, I'd keep my eye on who they may bring in the top. If they do something in the top 4, maybe in the draft as a safety position, I think I would sit up and pay attention and maybe get something out of that, because that strong safety position can offer a little bit more. especially when you have the coverage linebackers like Jones and possibly, Danny getting a little older. It's not quite there. It leaves a little bit more meat on the bone for that position if they get a right guy penciled in there. But, I might be completely wrong. They might not address it at all, worthy of anything. And whoever starts there might be a decent option. We might be looking at some decent DB2 type numbers. Who knows? But other than that, yeah, it's kind of one of those things. It's just the standard. Stick with Smith. That's your safe one. Quinn's not there anymore. So, well, good one. All right. Well, let's see. John, why don't you just take us on over to the Packers?
All righty. Green Bay. Yeah, some nice pieces on this defense, too. One of the problems with this defense, though, is guess who had the #1 time of possession ranking in the NFL last year?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And can you score IDP points from the bench?
Well, nope. It's
No.
really difficult. You need
Right.
big swings every game.
Yeah. So that's something to consider that a lot of people don't, right? I like my IDP pieces from teams with crappy, terrible offenses that are 3 and out all the time. And therefore, the Jets, oh, baby.
Yeah, right.
Give me all the Jets. 32nd ranked time of possession, 31st ranked offense. Like, sign me up. Sign me up, baby. The best ability is availability, right? So, all right, Packers. I'm into Chris Barnes maybe, right? Because Kirksey's gone. And that leaves a vacuum there, right? Like, he was in for some coverage stuff last year, so he might get the full role instead of just like 60-70% of snaps like on rundowns and stuff. You know what I mean? That'd be cool. If we could get a full Chris Barnes role, I'd be into that. It could be Kamal Martin too, but they played that game last year and Chris Barnes ended up winning that game. So I tend to think it's Chris Barnes. Zadarius Smith, I'm into much the same way. I'm into, any of those edge guys if the situation's correct. If it's an edge spot, if it's sleeper, if it's a big play league and you can afford to roll the dice, yeah, I'm into it. Preston Smith, not so much. I feel like Gary is pretty much due to take that spot here or soon. Let's see. Safeties, Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage, they're like the same person to me. It's like a safety 3 or 4 in stupid deep leagues. You can get something better off waivers. Just wait. Cameron Curl, Daniel Sorensen, Donovan Wilson all became available last year. Any of them would have been better than Amos or Darnell Savage. So I would just wait and grab the cream of the crop by paying attention. Jair Alexander, great corner, great for streaming corner in the right situation. But Kevin King, even better, because he's not going to cost you anything. And it's essentially the same production at streaming corner. And he gets targeted more often because his name is not Jair Alexander. So that's the guy I'd go for, streaming corner over there. Defensive tackle, Kenny Clark, yeah. He was almost a top 24 DT, missing 3 weeks last year and being banged up like 3 other weeks. So we know
he didn't have the
he's good.
season. Poor Clark. He didn't have the season he should have had. I mean, he was really set up to make a statement, and the injury and everything. It was kind of disappointing. I had him in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, and he still finished like 27th, 28th. Like not terrible. So I'm still into Kenny Clark. And then defensive end, no, it's a 3-4. If you're playing a 3-4 defensive end, you're in trouble. So
right. Very few of them.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that often. So that's what I got. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. The one exception where I'll give you some dissent is I'm a Darnell Savage fan. I think he's going to step up and be a very solid borderline DB1, probably closer to just a standard DB2. I don't think he's necessarily someone that you need to wait on and go after someone else. And I also don't think that he's going to have a ton of people investing in him. The secondary has always been good because of the volume, as opposed to because of being elite playmakers back there in terms of fantasy production. Obviously, Jair Alexander is amazing on the field, but when it comes to fantasy, he's just kind of fine. But when it comes to safeties, if you've got guys who are very good and they're on defenses where they're going to be passing nonstop, they're going to get their production. And I really think Darnell Savage is going to take a step forward this year and be someone that is a must-own and is a must-start. Maybe not necessarily someone you have to invest in, not someone at the top 10 or anything like that. But he's someone that I think that if you do decide to invest in, it'd be a good one.
Well,
Hey, could
anything
happen. Yep.
so I don't know. I'm in neutral. I mean, I'm going to take Smith at edge, as another guy this year that's probably going to be in the top 10. Not Preston. Preston
Yeah,
more of
the
a
good one.
number.
The good
Yeah,
one.
yeah, Zadarius or whatever. Yeah, just Zadarius.
Yeah.
I'm taking him. I'm fading a little bit on Preston Smith too. I'm not fading him probably as hard as John is. I think he's probably still got another good year in him up there with the Packers. I'm not been overly impressed what I've seen him film with Gary. Not saying that he can't. I'm just saying that I don't think he's really gotten an opportunity to. So there's not a lot to work with there. But when it really comes to the linebackers, everybody likes a Cinderella story, and Barnes was definitely one of those. I'm keeping my eye on Martin. Summers, I think we found out last year, they don't have faith in Summers to get the job done. A lot of people were on that wagon again last year as soon as Kirksey went down, and that was inevitable to happen too. So, realistically, I think my main focus might be whoever emerges, which is probably Barnes at this point, emerges as the one linebacker that stays on the field all the time. It's a combination of production by default to begin with, and has been since Blake Martinez has been there. And not knocking on Martinez. I'm just saying that the position offers a lot the way that they run that. And
Yes.
I'm putting a little bit of money on Martin. I like Martin, but it's another one of those situations where when you got guys like KJ Wright still sitting, a veteran that can get the job done. There's a couple of them out there. And you got the draft coming up. Hey, it's not in ink yet that anybody in that linebacker core is going to be that guy. So I'm going to pay attention to that draft, see what they do, and I mean, if I was Wright or somebody that had some better presence and could get the job done, and they offered me to take that job with the Packers, who can go to the Super Bowl any damn year that they step on the field with Rodgers back there and Adams. Yeah, I'm going to stand up and pay attention. So to see what happens. So that's a good one. Anybody want to add anything?
Yeah, I think I just want to throw in that it feels like there might be a little bit of a changing of the guard in Green Bay, just in the sense that there wasn't a big veteran who came in like our Kirksey did last year.
Mhm.
It feels like they want to give, whether it's Barnes, whether it's Martin, whether it's someone in the draft, they want to get a little bit younger on the defensive side of the ball. They look like they want to give Gary like a little bit more snaps. They want to ease these guys in. That's kind of been their MO for a long time, is to draft people, get them some snaps early, and just have them slowly get in, as opposed to a big lump sum where they go from being a situational guy to being the clear starter, like most teams do it. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen this year. I think if they do draft someone, unless it's a clear tackle volume, ILB, I don't see anyone just stepping up and producing. Maybe they do go and grab another free agent, but it feels like they're trying to get this defense a little bit younger while not losing a step. And I think that we're going to get a lot of newer names stepping up a bit. Not so much new in the sense that we don't know them, but new in the sense that they're actually going to be viable roster spaces.
Yep. Solid take care, man. All right, John, anything else?
Nope.
All right, we're going to move on. So far, to tell you the truth, I am not sitting here too excited about this whole division.
Yeah. I mean, other than Roquan Smith, what are we trying to invest in?
Right.
Yeah. Not much.
Right. So we're going to move on to the Vikings, which is not any longer the Vikings we used to know. They really missed Hunter last year. They went through the injury with Barr, which Barr has never been really an IDP asset to own. But what do you guys think about them?
Yeah, let me knock this out in case I gotta airlock myself here for work.
All right.
All right, so Vikings. I've got yeah, Kendrick's definitely getting older, but I mean, when he plays and he's healthy and he's on the field, he's solid, man. I love Kendrick's. Like,
He's
and
actually
he's
gotten better with age.
yes, yes, he's like a fine wine, right? Like, I love Kendrick's. Yeah, sign me up for all the Kendricks. I don't care. I'm in. Anthony Barr, I'm with you, Gary. I'm not into it. Like, it's spotty, inconsistent, relying on big plays that aren't consistent, right? Like, if sacks were in every game thing, like, the league would look completely different. That's not how it works. Like, I'll take tackles because tackles happen all the time. So no Barr for me. Thank you. Everyone else, no. Also, Harrison Smith, I guess he's getting old. He's falling off. You guys know he's not the Harrison Smith he used to be. Not by a long shot. The last 2 seasons have looked way different than the seasons prior. He's wore out, right? So I'm probably not into it. Someone I might be into though is Xavier Woods. I guess is going to be the other safety, right? So if he's comparable to what Anthony Harris was last year, that's not bad, right? And no one's going to draft Xavier freaking Woods on the Vikings. No. I didn't even know he was there until I just started doing research for this. I had no idea. Right?
It was a quiet signing, right?
Yes, very quiet signing. That and anyone that's familiar with the Cowboys IDP and what Xavier Woods did over there would probably puke in their mouth a little bit and just stay the hell away, right?
Yeah.
So
I expected a lot more out of him as a Cowboy. Yep.
Yeah, no. So he's going to be way under the radar. That might be worth a stab right there. So yeah, I'm into that. Not so much Harrison Smith, especially with the name recognition too. He's going to get taken early by someone, and it's going to be a waste of draft capital. Corners, that looks different this year too. I might be into Patrick Peterson and Cameron Dantzler depending on the matchup. Jeff Gladney's probably going to be in jail, so we can just go ahead. No, seriously, he probably will be. He got arrested the other day for assault, I think, domestic assault. So he's going bye-bye. But yeah, Peterson's always been decent as a streaming corner if the situation's right, and Dantzler was last year if the situation was right. So
Peterson is no longer. He's far from a shutdown corner. They don't avoid him. So they actually seem like they almost target him last year. So he had a lot of good production, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm into it. And then at defensive tackle, Armon Watts, no. Dalvin Tomlinson, yes, absolutely. So that's a traditionally productive spot. Linval Joseph for God knows how many years. That Dalvin Tomlinson is now playing, right? And he had a huge breakout year for the Giants last year. Like, he was awesome as a defensive tackle for IDP last year because he cost you nothing and he had a top 12 year.
Yeah, always on the wire.
Yeah, always. So definitely into that. And then defensive end, obviously, if Hunter's there, I'm into it. If not, I'm probably all good with Stephen Weatherly and company. So yeah.
I want to make sure. I want to ask you this because we had this discussion last year. Where are you ranking Hunter among edge rushers coming into this season before you go?
If he plays and he's healthy, he's a top 5. But I just can't trust that right now. Like, I'd probably only sporadically draft him if he was playing this year, just because I don't trust it.
All right.
Yeah. What do you guys think? I mean, are you guys feeling confident on him? What do you think?
Oh, he's my clear cut number 1 if he's healthy, if he's going to play. Just coming in, I don't think that barring any problems, he's my number 1 dude again.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, if he's healthy and if he's going to play, then he's up there, and I agree with that. But we don't know if he's healthy. We don't know how much he's going to play, and because we don't know those things, he's not up there. He's my number 14 edge rusher right now, which is not high. He's solidly in my tier 3. If you want to bump him up to around 7 or 6, I won't argue with you, but he's someone that, as being ranked that low, I'm not going to get in the draft. And I'm okay with that because I don't want to have that variance on my high-end amount of draft capital. I don't want to spend somebody early and then get someone who's just pretty much useless because of whatever reason. I just don't want to go that direction. I know Gary's very into him, and that's fine. He can be the one who takes him in my league, but I'm going to go a different direction. And the rest of this defense is kind of the same way. Eric Kendricks is a very solid, very good producer, and he's been, aging like a fine wine, as we said. But he's also the kind of guy where I'm looking at it from a dynasty perspective. I don't necessarily want to go and invest in him. I'd like to have him as a starting linebacker for a year or two. But if I'm looking at it from a big overarching perspective where I'm thinking about a 3 or 5 year plan, he's someone at whatever his draft price is going to be a little too expensive for my taste.
Mhm.
In the secondary, like Johnny said, Harrison Smith's going to get drafted way too high. And Xavier Woods is the nice guy who you're going to be able to sneak in and actually grab, who's going to be giving you just as good a production. The corners, like he said, Jeff Gladney's going to be gone, which means Patrick Peterson's going to probably get some good targets. But he's also old Patrick Peterson, who's a nice 1 year play, maybe a 2 year play, but not someone I'm really that into. Dalvin Tomlinson's a great defensive tackle. The way I like to rank everything is I just rank pure D line. So he's not very high up there. But if you're looking at defensive tackle specifically, he is. I do think Stephen Weatherly has a shot to be actually someone worth streaming. That's not to say that you should go out and draft him today, but I think he could actually make a difference as someone who can play matchups. Much like Green Bay, this offense should produce. They shouldn't be on the field very often, but they should get pass rushing opportunities late in games because of leads, which means Weatherly could show up with a few sacks here or there. And if you want to play the matchup and go for that big variance guy, I think he's someone you can target off the waiver wire.
Well, yeah, I'm not never been a Weatherly fan myself. I don't know. You got more faith in him than I do, but hey, and he's returning back to Minnesota, so it's a little bit different scheme. I think he was with Carolina last year. Maybe got hurt, didn't do much, didn't have an opportunity as much to make an impact that he can, being back with the Vikings again this year. So we'll have to watch on that. See what he does. I mean, you guys covered it. There's nothing that I could say much more than. I'm not a Nick Vigil guy. We found out that he was productive by default, basically, and being the best linebacker that Cincinnati had a couple of years ago. He didn't get much. I think he might have had a couple good games last year with the Chargers. He's just not preferably NFL starting caliber type, linebacker. So I don't see him having too much of an impact up there with the Vikings. And that weak side linebacker position, if that's where he's at, when Barr and Kendricks are healthy, that's a part-time job. That's what Eric Wilson was until Barr got hurt last year, and then he was thrown into that position where he was going to be on the field all the time. So I am curious and want to see what they do with that second-year guy, Dye, out of Oregon, I believe. I believe that they got lucky when he slipped that far into the draft last year in the end. But as long as they keep running the same scheme, if he is the weak side linebacker, then he's not going to see the field all the time either. He did get some play there last year, and it wasn't much at a time. So we'll see how his developments went. Same thing. I'm looking at Woods. Woods back there. I mean, it could be if he can at least match Smith from last year. Not Smith. Harrison.
Anthony Harris, yeah.
If he can match him, there's good quality there, and I'm sure just like you guys are thinking, he's probably not getting picked up. He's probably free agent in these drafts, and I think he's going to probably hold some value to the point where I don't know if you can start him every week. Probably depends on his matchups, especially within the division. So same thing. Good shit, man. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we know John's going to start work here shortly. I think we've covered everything. If you fellas don't have anything else to add, we're probably just going to close this down for the day. Again, I'd like to remind you, please go subscribe at Gridiron Ratings Fantasy Football on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Follow these fine gentlemen here. Actually, John's not got his handle up. I forgot to mention that to him. Yeah, John, you're at Orange what?
Yeah, OrangeMan3142 on Twitter. Thank you.
Yeah, catch his work. Hopefully, we'll be able to get him back on this summer with his schedule. See how that works out. And of course, James, keep you doing what you do, man. You're doing great. I think you're one of the better assets I've seen coming onto the scene. And, and that's in different aspects of the game too, because you got a lot going on over there. So, and I'd like to talk about that sometime when we're on here. I know you've got other things going on. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye, and then we'll catch you Friday with another show, another program. Can't tell you what we're going to cover because I can't remember what the hell we wrote on the calendar, but it'll be good. It'll be good. All right, folks. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching Getting Defensive.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care.